Good morning. This morning on continuing our theme of nature, we're going to talk about flowers. Who doesn't love flowers? Cultivated ones, wild ones, they're all wonderful. Now, just like trees and birds and water, flowers they aren't just pretty, but they're an important part of the ecosystem, and they play their own role in nature's web. They provide food to birds, such as hummingbirds, and also they provide food to insects. So there's all sorts of insects that feed on flowers, but the most notable ones are bees, of course, wasps, ants, actually eat from flowers too, and as well as butterflies. I've seen lots of monarch butterflies flying around my tents because my dad planted some butterfly bushes and they really like them. Flowers can also help minimize erosion because they aerate the soil and help hold the soil in their place with all their roots so it doesn't wash away. And flowers are useful to us as humans as well. So we use them as food. Rose petals have been used in cooking and teas for centuries, as have daylilies, dandelions, carnations, clover, daisies. These are all things we have humans have consumed. And citrus and banana flowers can also be a food source. And think about herbs. So chives, garlic, basil, jasmine, lavender. Lavender is wonderful, can be used as just as a scent as well. And sage leaves and all these herbs are flowering plants that we use in our food dishes. They also provide medicine for humans. Begonias has been used for eliminating toxins in the body. Sunflower and honeysuckle is used for treating sore throats and tonsillitis. And cats even use flowers to cause vomiting and eliminate any sort of thing if there's something going on with their stomach. And of course, last but not least, flowers give us great joy, right? Their beauty provides us such pleasure and can be a balm for our spirit and lift us up. So I'm going to tell you about a flower ceremony that a minister in the city of Prague in Czechoslovakia adopted and began doing every year. So this was in the year 1923. And this church the building didn't look much like a church. It had no bells, no spires, no stained glass windows, no organ to make music or any piano to make music. It had no carvings of wood or statues of stone. It didn't even have candles or chalice, and it had no flowers. The church did have some things. It had 4 walls and a ceiling and a floor. It had a door and a couple of windows and some wooden chairs, but that was all. It was very plain and simple. So it served its purpose. And the church also, of course, had people who came to it every Sunday. There was a minister, and his name was Norbert Chopek. He had been the minister at this plain and simple church for 2 years. Every Sunday, Minister Chopek went to church and he spoke to the people while they listened, sitting quietly and still in those hard wooden chairs. When he was done speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves and then they went home. And that was all. There was no music or candles. There's no food. There wasn't even coffee. Now, springtime came to the city of Prague, and Minister Chopek went out for a stroll. The rains had come and the birds were singing. The flowers were blooming all over the land. The world was so beautiful. Then an idea came to him, simple and clear, plain as day. The next Sunday, he asked all the people in church to bring a flower or a budding branch, or even a twig. Each person was to bring one. What kind, they asked. What color? What size? You choose, he said. Each of you will choose what you like. And so, on the next Sunday, which was the first day of summer, the people came with flowers of all different colors and sizes and kinds. There were yellow daisies and red roses. There were white lilies and blue asters, dark-eyed pansies with light green leaves, pink and purple and orange and gold. There were all colors and more. Flowers filled all the vases, and the church wasn't so plain and simple anymore. It had become beautiful. Minister Chopek spoke to the people while they listened, sitting quiet and still in those hard wooden chairs. These flowers are like ourselves, he said, different colors and different shapes and different sizes, each needing different kind of care, but each beautiful, each important and special in its own way. When he was done speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves, and then they each chose a different flower from the vases before they went home. And that was all. It was beautiful, plain and simple as the day. So what do you think of this story? One of the things that's nice about it is that by incorporating this flower ceremony, which he then proceeded to do every year, he created a ritual. And rituals are important because they're a way to mark events, even if it's just the beginning of summer. They're a way we can, and to do so with other people. And so that's probably one of the reasons people really enjoyed that ceremony, because it created this ritual for them. They probably also enjoyed it because of the beauty that the flowers brought to this plain and simple church. It added just that little element of joy that had been lacking before. And it was also a way to share with each other, because they each brought one flower, and then they got to take home a different flower that someone else had brought. And as the minister said in the story, just like people, flowers come in all shapes and sizes and colors and varieties, needing different kinds of care, just like people. So what did you think about what kind of flower would you pick if you did a ritual such as this, bringing a flower and then taking one home? Or what kind of flower would you be? If you were a flower, what would you be? Flowers are also much more than meets the eye. So flowers look very different to insects that eat from them and pollinate them, such as honeybees, compared to what we mammals see. They have compound eyes and they can see ultraviolet light or UV light. So there's pigments in flower petals that absorb UV light and create patterns that are visible to bees, even though we can't see them. And these patterns are sometimes referred to as honey guides or nectar guides, or like landing strips, because they create these landing strips that focus in on the center of the flower where the nectar is and help draw the bee to that area where their food is. And we can't see it, but like in this image here, here's what we see, the yellow, but the bees see this red right in the middle of that flower, and they're directed right towards it, right to where their food source is. And so the bees get their food, and it's also helpful for the flowers because they are getting pollinated by the bees. As the bees rub up against the pollen, they bring it to other flowers and help the flowers survive. So here is, share my screen. And I want to show you, oops, I can't. There's this guy, Craig Burrows, that his specialty is photographing in UV light and mostly photographing flowers. He does some other things too. But these are all flowers that he's photographed in that show the UV light that's emitting from them that we usually can't see. So this is how the world looks to bees. But look at that. Can you see how that would just guide a bee right to the center of that flower? And this one up here that has this red here at the center. So it's pretty cool. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? These over here, these purple ones, they're so amazing. So it's pretty cool. Look at that mushroom. So it's pretty cool what this is, and this is what the world looks like to bees. Isn't that amazing? All this is there that we can't see with our own eyes, but it's there. So just like with the ultraviolet flowers, people are usually more than meets the eye as well. When you pass by someone on the street, it's so easy to make assumptions about them, right? Just by looking at them based on their appearance, maybe based on their clothes, what their hair looks like, anything really. But they and all of us have the equivalent of the UV patterns on the flowers, and that there's something within us that not everybody can see. But it's there all the same. And it might not be apparent by someone what you're like just by someone looking at you. So you can't make assumptions about people. Just as when you look at a flower, you can't see all that it is because you don't have the UV light seeing eyes that bees do. Similarly, you can't see everything that a person is just by looking at them. And they might walk by someone that looks all scruffy and street, and they could be a CEO of a big company and just a Saturday just being comfortable, right? Not in their parasuit. Or you might not know troubles that someone's going through when you see them. I think about times, when people last summer in the park and it was so crowded and people randomly being rude to me for no reason. It's like, what did I do? I was just walking by. And it was bizarre, and it happened a number of times. And it was very strange. But the fact is, you know what? They could have just, a family member could have just died, and maybe they're having a hard day and just grumpy and just in a bad mood and upset and hurting inside. So, or they could be really sick. You don't know what people are going through when you pass by them. Some people are wearing masks in the grocery store, some people are not. Maybe those people that are wearing masks, they could have an autoimmune disease, they couldn't get vaccinated, or have some other concern, and they need to wear the masks. I'm wearing a mask in the store now myself, just because, I don't know, you just don't know what's going on. And not only coronavirus, but I don't even want to catch a cold. I got a horrible cold, and it's like, I don't know, wear my mask again, just to be safe. So anyway, you can't tell what is inside people and what they know, where they've been, just by looking at them and what's inside them and what's really like. So what I want you to think about, what part of you do people not always see when they first meet you? What might they not expect upon first meeting you? And I encourage you to have bee eyes and see past what's on the outside when you see someone, go past them. But instead, try to discover what their inner light is. So that's all for today. Be kind to yourself and others. I'll see you next time.